With all the RTX 3090s, 3080s, 3070s, and 3060 Ti's hitting the streets, one must wonder, which model do I pick? And Zotac have decided to come to the market with the Twin Edge OC RTX 3070. Now this comes in two different flavors. We've got a dark gray aesthetic and the one which is on this box right here, which is an all white aesthetic. Now we've got a 90mm fan and a 100mm fan, and they are independently controlled, meaning one can switch off and the other can keep going if that certain part of the card is hotter than the other side, or vice versa, and they can run at different speeds. However, this card weighing in at 800 grams, is that going to pose a problem in terms of its cooling and temperatures? Though coming in 200 grams lighter than the RTX 3070 Founders, is that going to pose a problem for temperatures and ultimately noise? And here's where the auto fan profile surprised me a lot, coming in with 70 degrees in a 28 degree ambient at 72% fan speeds. Now, if you manually set it to 60%, it does go up to around 74 degrees, and it does drop the noise considerably down to around 34 decibels, where we're getting around 39 decibels, and this thing, delta adjusting it, drops it down to around 66 degrees. And then 80% and 100% do ramp up the noise a lot, but the temperatures do start to go down quite a lot as well. So the cooling on this unit is very impressive. It also comes in with a shorter total length, and I'll pull the dimensions up on the screen for you guys, than the Founders Edition, as well as being a true 2-slot cooler. So those who want to mount it in a mini ITX build, if they can fit the width that is, which is roughly 140mm, then they will be having a smaller card that will give them some good temperatures in a small form factor solution. Though going on to the gaming benchmarks now, where we'll go through 1080p, 1440p, and 4K numbers in a variety of titles here, where first up is F1 2020. This card does perform very close to that of the Founders. They're pretty much neck and neck in a lot of these benchmarks. And then moving on to CYBERPUNK 2077, which is a new game that we're adding into the mix here, being one of the, pretty much I think it is the best selling PC title of all time already, making it just a huge game. Though it is very, and I mean, I say this without ease, very demanding on hardware, especially the GPU. So the 3070 will do a good job, and I'll pull up some DLSS and ray tracing benchmarks on top of that, just to show you guys that you can use ray tracing in this game, but you will want to turn on the DLSS setting, at least to quality. And I found that the quality setting, and I'll pull up a side-by-side comparison here, I found the quality setting versus having DLSS off, you lose a lot of FPS, but if you have DLSS on, you don't lose pretty much any quality. It's very unnoticeable, especially at higher resolutions. Though, continue on with the benchmarks, we're going to pull up some different games here and just talk about this card in general. And we're also getting good undervolts out of this card, which if you do want to undervolt this card, you're going to lose roughly, I think I measured it at 1 or 2 FPS at 4K. So you're losing a couple of percent, but you're dropping down the power consumption considerably, and you're getting much better temperatures even on the auto fan profiles out of the box, going from 70 down to all the way down to like 60 in a 28C ambient environment. Now the last test we're going to throw up here is the overclocks for you guys, where I was surprised. This card in particular was doing very well with overclocking. Just like the 3060 Ti, I think some of the manufacturers out there starting to crack on that you can get very efficient overclocks out of the 3060 Ti and also the 3070, where here we're only using roughly an extra 20 watts, but we're making some pretty big gains in the terms of the Twin Edge OC. So the gaming benchmarks show that this card, despite its small size, actually performed very well. So good job to Zotac here, where I believe this card was performing better in terms, relative terms, versus their Trinity Edition 3080. Even though it's a 3080 and it does have more power consumption out of the get-go, this card here for a 3070 and with its small form factor was performing very well. Though one thing we're going to look at now is the price, because this is going to be a big one. If you guys are in the market for something, let's like, how much does this thing cost? Here's where I found two different editions of this particular card. One's the Twin Edge regular, and then this one here is the Twin Edge OC. Though from what I can tell, the white edition only comes in with the OC model, and that's going to set you back in Australia roughly $1,030, and then in America around $560 US. I believe the base model non-OC is coming in at roughly MSRP. and that in Australia, that's around 950 Aussie dollars. And you're probably wondering, with the stock availability, is this a card that I can actually buy? And this was what I said to Zotac before I reviewed this card. I said, look, if this card's not gonna be in stock, don't bother sending it through. And so I'm seeing that it is available in Australia, and in America, they told me that they're making sure that shipments are running because demand is huge for the 3070s and 3080s in America at this current point in time. So the stock issue, they're working on getting these cards out. This model in particular is a very nice implementation. It's got the white backplate, the white fans, the white aesthetic, and you've got good speeds out of the box. So the final things to go over is we've got 3 DisplayPort outs and an HDMI 2.1, and the side light here, the Zotac Gaming, that lights up white out of the box. And with all those numbers out of the way, it's finally time to wrap things up for the Twin Edge OC. And I like what Zotac have done here. This is a really good model that impressed me more so than the Trinity Edition did, where I thought that was coming out as just a run-of-the-mill 3080. This one right here has the small form factor. It's got the white aesthetic. It's got the good speeds out of the box, got the low noise, and that surprised me. As I said in the intro, coming with that 800 gram weight, I didn't expect it to perform as well as it did, but it did a very good job. So if you're looking for something that's an alternative to a Founders Edition, then this is definitely going to do the job. It does require 2 8-pin connectors, doesn't use the standard NVIDIA 12-pin, which is the Founders cards are the only ones that do that 12-pin at this current point in time, at least the cards that have come through here, but they include an adapter for that. The one more cool thing is the power connectors are recessed. So if you're doing a mini RTX build, then you can have the power connectors coming in, and that will make cable management a lot easier too. And to answer the question directly of should you buy the Twin Edge OC, if you're looking for the white aesthetic, this is definitely a good option. If you want to save a bit of money and you are comfortable with Afterburner, whether it's undervolting or manually overclocking, I would save some money and go for the non-OC. And the model itself, solid model, solid implementation. And if you guys enjoyed today's review, then be sure to hit that like button for us. Also let us know in the comments section below what you think of this model right here. Is it enough to convince you or enough to not? Love reading those thoughts and opinions as always, just like this question of the day here, which comes from Damien, and they ask, so straight from the box won't run, is another CPU needed to flash the BIOS? And they're talking about the A320 video we did with the Ryzen 5 3600. Unfortunately, if the 3600 doesn't work out of the box with the A320, then you will have to use another CPU to flash that A320. So for me personally, I have a Ryzen 3 1200 on hand, and I use that to flash all the older motherboards. And best bet it would be to go to a computer store and just say, hey, could I quickly do a flash? Or I think you can contact AMD for one of those CPUs. Really, like, I think it's like they gave a CPU that could flash BIOSes to people if they couldn't flash. So AMD might loan you a CPU depending on where you live, but the best thing to do is always, if you don't want these hassles out of the box, is to check and make sure that Ryzen 3000 Ready sticker is on that A320 motherboard box before you buy it. And in due time, this will also become relevant to Ryzen 5000 series CPUs too. Hope that answers that question. And if you guys have stayed this far and you're enjoying that Tech Yes content, then be sure to hit that like button and ring that bell. And I'll catch you in another one very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.